to play it.
Shucking and jiving on the righteous edge, on the righteous edge. Shucking and jiving on the righteous edge, on the righteous edge. Live it up on the edge, on the righteous edge. Live it up on the edge, on the righteous edge. I love being a coon, shucking and jiving to the moon. I love being a coon, shucking and jiving to the moon. I love being a coon, shucking and jiving to the moon. I love being a coon, shucking and jiving to the moon. I've learned that thief has never learned, so I'll jump ship just to let him burn. I fly fucking lane with the coon. Shucking and jiving on the righteous edge, on the righteous edge. Shucking and jiving on the righteous edge, on the righteous edge. Living up on the edge, on the righteous edge. Living up on the edge, on the righteous edge.
What's up? It's your boy Jack Bravo back at the Righteous Edge, and I'm here with Mr. Producer. Today we doing one of the old school shows with just me and him. We had a bunch of shows previously with a couple of my friends that came through. We're going to continue doing that in the future, but then every once in a while we got to attack certain issues just by ourselves. Now, y'all know how it is when you want to talk about something, but it's going to get a lot of hate. It's going to get a lot of hate to talk about this topic because people are going to think I'm simply hating on Christians for being influencers. And that's not the case. There's a lot of people who are claiming to be Christians who have a platform. And they've gotten hundreds and millions of views on their videos. And some of them have gotten extremely popular and they have a large following. And they forgot that as a Christian, your goal is not to get a large following just to have popularity. Every platform that you get as a Christian is just a catalyst for you to present the gospel to more and more people, to the population, to the ends of the earth. You're not supposed to just get it and do exactly what other influencers do. And the fact that other Christians don't really call this out but yet go on those platforms and act like we're just the same as every other worldly influencer. It really bothers me, and I kind of wonder if I just have going to have this curse all of my influencer YouTube career where I'm not going to be that popular because I'm just not going to be able to sit down with somebody without challenging demonic, satanic beliefs that they hold. If I have a platform, I look at it as it is my job to do that. God didn't give me my platform for me to be rich. God didn't give me my platform for me to just sit down and be cool and make a bunch of friends. God gave me my platform to share his word, to be a masculine influence to those to the fatherless, to show them how a real godly man is supposed to act, and to present the gospel clearly. I want to be able to do those things with my platform. But one of the most discouraging things is seeing people with a platform bigger than mine, not out of jealousy, seeing people with a platform that is bigger than mine that have used God's name to get to the heights that they reached, but then they leave God's morals, God's ethics, God's truth, the truth of God's word behind. That's not what you're supposed to be doing, man. God didn't give you a platform for you to flutter around and say, look at me. But I fear that that's what most Christian influencers do. They get a platform, they run amok with it, you find out they're not really who they say they are. And it's like one of those things where it's like, man, a lot of people, if this video ever was to reach the heights that I wanted to reach, people will say, well, you're not perfect either. I'm not saying to be perfect. I'm going to point out some things to you guys. What I am saying, what I am warning people about. Everyone does not deserve a platform, especially if you're not a good representation of Jesus Christ. That doesn't mean be perfect, but it means you have been put in this place to represent Jesus Christ to the world. And not just in the gushy, nicety, weak Christian sort of way, in the real Christian sort of way, in the times where you might have to say things that make a few enemies sort of way. In the way where you might have to confront your friends publicly because they said something stupid sort of way. Said something against God's principles. You might have to do things that make you an enemy with the world. You might have to refuse to go to certain places. You might have to refuse to put parts of your life on the internet. Because you might have to say, this man is not a good representation of Jesus Christ right now. And I have a platform and I have a responsibility to my audience not to go down this road because people are looking to me as a Christian leader. You have to be able to do that. So I'm not saying for you to be perfect. And I got to stress that because somebody's going to say, oh, Christian being so judgmental. We're supposed to use righteous judgment, but not be judgmental in the way where we think we're higher than somebody else. I'm not trying to look down on somebody simply to put myself up and put them down. I'm trying to tell you the truth of the matter of what I observed and hold other Christian creators accountable. That's a totally different thing than me just saying, I don't like y'all because y'all better than y'all got a bigger following than me. I could care less about that. In fact, I want more Christians to have the biggest followers that they ever could to share the gospel in the most clearest, most profound, and the farthest reaches they ever could. What I don't like is when they get to the top and they forget where they came from. They forget what their purpose is. What does James 3:1 talks about? Do not desire to become a teacher because you'll have a stricter judgment. You're going to have a stricter judgment if you are a teacher. Now, then the question becomes, are Christian influencer teachers? And I would say in some regard, yes. If people are looking towards you and your platform and you put the name of Christianity behind you, Girls Gone Bible or Super Christian Dude who are YouTube, if you have that type of the name, if you represent Christ in your name and you represent Christ as part of who you are and your, what's the word where you have like a logo and a, where everything you do is a representation of Jesus Christ. When you have all of those things and it's wrapped up in being a Christian, then you have a responsibility. And here's some of the things that I've seen from those Christian influencers that we're going to talk about specifically. First of all, you need to use your platform to stand against evil, not say whatever is popular in the moment. You can't just stay safe and watered down. I see too many Christian influencers trying to do whatever's safe and watered down. They give the gospel and that's it. They don't attack the problems of the world. They don't attack anything that's unsafe. They don't talk about homosexuality. They don't talk about abortion. They don't talk about feminism. They don't talk about slut culture. They don't talk about pornography. They don't talk about liberalism. That's a big problem. You cannot say, I'm a Christian, but the main things that are demonic in our society that I see every day, I'm not going to talk about that because people are going to be mad. That's one of the clear ways that I know a Christian influencer is not as Christian as they claim to be, because when it comes to stuff like the trans movement and calling it demonic, they can't do it. But if another Christian is judgmental, they can call that out because that's cool to do. But then when you see people cutting little kids' private parts off, you too scared to call that out. They don't dare talk about homosexuality because they got homosexual followers. That's nonsense. They don't talk about feminism because plenty Christians believe they can still be feminist. That's nonsense. And let me tell you something else. Feminism, by far, is the biggest cancer to Christianity in the West right now. If you want to say a mix between feminism and liberalism, you could make that argument. But feminism by far is destroying the church in the West. If I made a top 5, it would be the first 3 in the top 5. That's how strong it is. And for those who don't agree with me, you just have not been studying what's going on in society, what's been going on, especially in suburban churches, what's been going on in the homes that claim to be Christian homes. The wife runs everything. The man has no say. He better sit his punk butt down and listen to his wife, or he's got hell to pay for it. And y'all know I'm not lying, those who are actually going to admit the truth. So if you don't speak on what's unpopular as a Christian influencer, I don't look at you as a legit representation of Jesus Christ, because Jesus Christ spoke on things that were not popular all the time. In fact, they killed him because he was speaking up against the societal norms at that time. Not just the societal norms, but declaring himself to be God over the things that they made, over the Sabbath, over all the ritualistic things they were trying to do. And so it was definitely one of those situations where it was unpopular for him to say what he was saying. Psalms 97:10 tells us to hate evil. Too many Christians are all obsessed with niceties, being nice, turning the other cheek, not fighting, not standing up for anything, not giving anybody an answer because they don't want to come off as hateful, telling her, I'm not here to judge. We listen, but we don't judge. That weak, sissy Christian stuff, that does not fly over here because God called us to hate evil. That doesn't mean you hate everybody. You're supposed to love your enemies, but hate evil, which means the person can still have a soul that is saved by Jesus Christ. But what they're doing can be destructive to society and themselves. You are to hate evil. You are to call out evil. You are not supposed to be like, it ain't that bad, or we're not going to talk about that, or we're going to stay away from that issue. That's not true Christianity. This is not saying that you can't be friends with people who do degenerate things. I'm not saying that. Paul even said in Corinthians, if you were going to not be friends with the world, you would have to go out of the world. If you're not going to have any contact with the world, you would have to literally remove yourself from the planet. What I'm saying is you cannot be equally yoked with them. You can't be going the same direction as them and then call yourself an influencer for Christ. You can't. It doesn't work like that. If you have a platform built on Christianity, it is your job, as uncomfortable as it may be, to challenge those who come on your platform and have done things that lead others astray. You can't say, oh, I'm going to sit down with them and we ain't going to talk about the elephant in the room. That this dude says hell doesn't exist, or so-and-so had a 7-year affair and nobody addresses it. You can't do that because God gave you the platform and God can take it away. If you're ashamed to stand for God before man, then he's going to be ashamed of you before the Father. You have to confront evil, even though it's uncomfortable. James 4:4 says that friendship with the world makes a person an enemy of God. Oh, the camera's doing that weird thing again. Let's see. It's fine. I'll adjust it if it messes up. It says friendship with the world makes a person enemies of God. And then it also says in 1 John 2:15, commands believers not to love the world or the things that are in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So you see all these verses are very clear about where the Bible stands when it comes to how you should influence, what you should do with your social media platform, how you should operate in the world, having harsh discussions or having difficult discussions or talking about difficult things. That don't mean you don't have love and gentleness and meekness and humility. It doesn't mean that, but it does mean that you have to do it. You don't have a choice as a Christian to just sit there and be like, well, I'm not going to talk about the tough things in life. That's what you were put there to do. In fact, I would argue that those Christians that don't like talking about hell, don't like talking about the evils and abominations of homosexuality, transgenderism, the sexuality and the slut nonsense that's going on now, and the idea that we have this open culture when it comes to sexuality in general. Those who don't like talking about that, I would argue that you are not really presenting the gospel, because what is Jesus Christ saving you from if you don't tell people of their sin? If you don't tell people of their sin, what are you really proclaiming? Jesus Christ is just going to make your life a little bit better? That's not what he said. He said, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is near. That's what John the Baptist said. That's what Jesus Christ also proclaimed. He said for people to repent. He didn't just say, oh, well, just follow me and everything's going to be great and we won't talk about those sins. We'll sweep those under the rug. No, he said, I came to pay for the sins of man. That there's no way to the Father but through him. You have to accept that he's paying the price, the heavy weight for your sin. Don't sit there and dumb down or water down how detrimental sin is in society and in each person's personal life. You do them a disservice when you do that. Last thing. And we're going to go over some of these. Here's the problem. We're going to break down some of these videos, what I have with these specific influencers. First, we're going to go over Girls Gone Bible. Then we're going to go over RUSLAN. Then Pastor Mike Todd. Then Nala Ray. All these people claim to be Christian influencers. One of them claims to be a pastor, but he's more of an influencer than anything else. And we're going to have to talk about this because I think people ignore what's really going on here. And it's quite sad to me. As a Christian, how can you ignore some of the things that are going on? Can you go to that first video, Mr. Producer?
Guys, come on. Come on. I've changed my tune on here. I don't do this type. No, I don't do this type of stuff anymore. I have a religious podcast.
We might watch this a couple times.
Rika. Enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? No,
Christian Avengers at it again. Let's talk about
You want to pause it?
girls gone Bible.
You want to and then scroll to the first part of the video again? We'll watch that part again.
We have everything you got for some. Oh, guys, come on. Come on. I've changed my tune on here. I don't do this type. No, I don't do this type of stuff anymore.
You want to pause
I
that?
have a
And we're gonna
religious
mute that.
podcast.
Yep. There you go. So that's one of the members of the Girls Gone Bible podcast. And I've watched a couple segments from their podcast. I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched the whole thing because it seems pretty boring and they're very surface level when it comes to Christianity. They don't talk about anything deep. So they have a podcast and it's two of them. They look like twins almost. Two very attractive young ladies. And they have this podcast where they talk about the struggles of being young Christian women. So then one of the things that happened is this video comes out and you can't see the full video, and for good reason, because part of it is blurred out. And what it is she's on all fours and her friends are doing this sexualized twerking dance behind her. Like 3 or 4 other girls are shaking their rear ends up and down in this sexualized motion, and she's on all fours preparing to do the dance. And she's saying, I don't do this type of stuff anymore. I'm a Christian influencer. I have a Christian podcast. I don't do this type of stuff as I'm doing it. I don't do what I'm doing right now. You know, the thing that I'm doing right now, I don't really do it anymore, even though I'm doing it right now. That's what she's saying. And here's the thing that kind of needs to be addressed with this. Because some people are going to have a problem with me pointing this out. You can come from a sinful lifestyle. You absolutely can. You can come from a lifestyle. In fact, Brother Cliff that I had on last week, he used to be a drug dealer. He went to prison. He did all types of robberies, all types of gang type stuff. He was involved in pretty much everything. Now he's a Christian, right? And that was almost 20 years ago. He was involved in a lot of those things. All that to say, you can be a Christian and come from a sinful lifestyle. In fact, every Christian has. Every Christian has stood before God, if you are in fact a Christian, ask God for forgiveness, repentance, and ask Jesus Christ to have his spirit come into you just like the apostles did and give you salvation. Give you salvation, change you from an old creature to a new creature. You depend it and you believe that Jesus Christ died for your sins, that he resurrected and defeated death. And you believe that not only is he saving you from your old self and your flesh, but he will also save you in the future from sin, death, and hell. You believe that. Here's my issue. Just because you believe that doesn't give you the right to have a platform. And secondly, if you believe that, and you have messed up, you have done something that is a shame or an affront to the gospel of Christ. If you have done something that publicly you need to ask God for forgiveness for, it's time for you to step down off your platform. At least for a little bit. At least for a little bit, it's time for you to step down off your platform and say, you know what? I haven't been portraying behind the scenes the godly Christian woman I should be. Perhaps this platform is not really good for me right now. I need to give way for other people who are really living what they say to come preach the gospel in my place. But do they do that? Nope. They go on a scandal, then they come out and they say, we're so sorry for doing what we did, and you have another podcast about the scandal. What does the Bible say to do? It says be blameless. It says if you're going to do these type of things, have some humility. Part of the problem, and I'm going to say this, and it's going to apply to another creator that we're going to talk about later. Part of the problem is these women cannot go without attention. They cannot do it. The reason why they have to do this sexual type dances, be on all fours and shake their rear end so much is because the attention that they've gotten is a drug to them. If that is the case, you should not be an influencer. God would not call you to do something that you have to sin to do. For instance, if you know you were a bottle girl, which apparently the rumor is both of the girls from Girls Gone Bible were, that they were basically bottle girls working in bars, dressing inappropriately. If you know that that was your struggle before you got saved, before you knew the Lord, before you had a relationship with him, that you were going around and your main sin was to gather attention from men, and you would go in bars and do things that were inappropriate. If you know that was what you struggled with, why would you continue being an influencer after you became a Christian when you know that's not your place? That'd be like a dude who struggled with alcohol saying, well, now that I got saved, my main and first ministry is to go to the bar. I'm going to start my Bible lesson behind the bar. You would be like, dude, you got saved from that, and yes, you are a new creature, but you still have your old temptations. Maybe you, of all people, shouldn't be in that place. Same with a lot of these female Christian influencers. They love attention. They got attention from men for whatever reason before they got saved. Now that they got saved, they want to go and be an influencer and be in front of all these eyes and still have all these accolades. They still want to be super popular. Maybe you need to sit down and be quiet, get married, and have a humble life. Maybe the influencing role is not for you. You can't handle that attention. Y'all ever considered that? That maybe that's not the way for you? And secondly, or thirdly, if you struggle, you can mess up as a Christian. And maybe you are called to be an influencer. Say you like, God still called me to be an influencer, and everybody in my life, whether it be my pastor, whether it be, all the godly advice I've received in my life is pointing me to be an influencer. Maybe so. But when you mess up like that, and when you get out in front of people, it's time to sit down for a little bit and restructure and see what made me go off that direction where I was leading all these women astray. What made me even be around all these women who are also twerking and doing inappropriate dances? Why am I friends with them? This is not what I portrayed on the podcast. Why was I even caught up in that situation? Because it's a lot of things that go into that one situation. First of all, it looks like they were planning to go out for a night of fun at the bar, right? Rumor is that in that video, some people were drunk or they were drinking. The video is super hard to find because they scrubbed the internet and took it down pretty much everywhere. I can't find it on X. I can barely find it on TikTok. So they scrubbed the internet for it. So they're very ashamed of it. Here's the thing though. All the things that go into making that video tells you a little more about the people's character in the video. Were they going out to a club or to a party? Right? Then you got to think, were they drinking? Why are they doing these sexual dances? And why do they have women that are comfortable doing these sexual dances where you have to blur out one of the girls' rear end? You don't see it in the video, but if you go search for it, you'll see what I'm talking about. One of the girls that's standing above her is shaking her rear end to the point where her dress is coming up and you got to blur out her butt. Why would you have friends comfortable doing that if you claim to be one of the top girl Christian podcasts? You tell me. You need to sit down for a bit, gather yourself, and really decide, is this something I want to do or is this something God is leading me to do? And yes, you should have to decide that. You should have to struggle through that. You should have to sit back and say, man, maybe this ain't for me. Next person.
I was going to say, Jack, we have a comment on that.
Oh, go ahead.
A society that mocks virtue prepares its own collapse.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because a society, and this is what I want to see with young women. When you say that lacks virtue or mocks virtue, that's exactly what the young women lack today. They lack modesty and virtue because they get so much attention for doing the opposite. They get attention for being the opposite of modest. They get so much attention for not having virtue, for doing sexualized dances, for having an OnlyFans, for doing stuff that will bring attention. And then the other thing I wanted to address, I'm glad you said it because it reminded me with the Girls Gone Bible situation. They do this thing that Proverbs talks about that women, that, loose women often do, and they feign innocence. I'm not supposed to be doing this right now. Oh my gosh, I can't believe the situation I'm in that I put myself in. You know exactly what you're doing. You know you're an attractive young female. You know that you want attention. This is not an accident. And you can't go back and say you wasn't a Christian when you were doing that because you talked about your Christian podcast. I have a Christian podcast. I can't be doing stuff like this. But you did it. And here's the thing. Let me go to that next video. It's like the one with the dudes. Sorry, my camera goofy. Yeah, play that. Yeah, play that. We gonna see what Christian simps do.
Angela and Ari, they run an absolutely great podcast. There's a ton of controversy around their podcast right now because of the life that Angela lives or has lived. There's no telling exactly if it's current or if it's previous. Specifically, it was a video of her at a party drinking. There's rumors that they were models and something like working at a poker room as waitresses, and how this is a sinful environment.
Here's my thing though, if it's part of the past, like before they got into their journey in a relationship with Christ and everything, then it shouldn't matter. How I see it is I'm constantly judged for my past. I have videos on TikTok still of me chugging beer and how my sinful life used to be. I don't even drink no more. But the people that don't know me will judge me on that. But the people that know me know that I quit drinking, that I have a relationship with God. And at that time, I would say I had a relationship with God, but I didn't take it as serious. Majority of people that don't know you won't understand that. So they're just going to judge you for what they see, and they're just going to assume.
The argument that people have is, well, why aren't they being transparent?
Here's my fault. Here's what they're doing that I disagree with. Because I think these are a group of male Christian simps. What they're doing is they're not addressing the situation that actually happened. The situation that actually happened is this wasn't something in her past. This is something currently she did. This ain't something she did a long time ago, part of her character that she left behind. This is something she did recently. She said in the video, I shouldn't be doing this. I have a Christian podcast. Stop taking up for women simply because they're women. They need to be called out on their sin just like you do. And I would say the same thing to you. You said you had old videos. In fact, I would go as far as this. If you have a past as a Christian, that can be a good testimony to say, look what I came from. Look where God brought me from, and look where I am now. But I'll tell you what's not a good testimony. For me to go out tonight and sleep with some girl that ain't my wife, and somebody catch me and take a video of it, and me saying, I shouldn't be doing this, I'm a Christian, and then get on the next day and say, join the righteous edge, like, comment, and subscribe. That's not the same. Somebody needs to hold people accountable. And here's the thing, people gonna say, you're mean and you're not without sin. All of that stuff is great. Sounds good. Here's the problem. Christianity is failing in the West because you, who think I'm too harsh, are too weak. You don't have any standards. You don't have any Christian ethics, any standards that you hold anybody to. And that's why people are not coming to your church, because it's not real. People can tell it ain't real. They look at your life, it's not real. When you preach the gospel, it's not real. When I preach the gospel, when I say the word of God, it's real in my life. It's real behind closed doors. It's real to everyone who comes in contact with me. I don't have to fake. That's why I can talk about more than surface level things. My fault. We can continue that video.
About this, she's talked about it. What Do you want the details? Do you want to see the videos? Do you want to see the pictures of the ugliness of who I am as a person? Like, is that what you want to see? Is that what's going to validate you? Like, make you feel better and affirmed? I don't think that as a person that does things like this, that we have to reveal all of those things and inner challenges that we're going through. I think that it opens up to vulnerability, but there's a time and a place where we open that up. And right now there's things that even I myself, I will not open up about because I'm still struggling with it and I'm giving it to God. I'm not giving it to the world for them to cast their judgments, much like what they're doing with Angela. And it's vastly unfair and a strong misunderstanding when it's a Christian talking about these Christian girls, when it's a Christian and they're not coming from a place of grace, that they're just talking about it from a place of gossip and slander and look at them. And then I begin to wonder, why are you doing that? Are you doing it because you were hoping that your platform would perform better? Were you hoping that somebody would see you and give you the platform that Girls Gone Bible has? Is that what it is? Is it jealousy? Is it envy? Because let me tell you right now, I'm just a small piece in the podcast sphere. Very small piece. And God has blessed me with the community that I have. And He's blessed them, in my opinion, to the same degree that He's blessed me. Even though it's bigger, that's not how I quantify how God has blessed me. God has blessed me with amazing relationships, amazing people in my life. It's not about the numbers, it's about the one person that's impacted. And maybe they're blessed with the opportunity to impact more people. He gives that capacity to them because He's anointed them to be in that position. And
So, it's funny to me and very odd that they can assume the motives of the person that's trying to hold these women accountable. But we don't have the rights to assume the motives of the video we just saw. So they can assume that we're only correcting people out of jealousy, those who are correcting. They can assume that we're only moved because we want the same numbers and the same platform they do. But then when we see them engaging in these unchristian acts, we're supposed to sit back and say, assume the best for them. You're supposed to look at them and say, you know what? Maybe she tripped and fell in all fours, and maybe her butt always moves like that. Maybe she's not dancing. Maybe the people behind her broke in her house and they were just twerking because that's what criminals do. It's all a big coincidence. Let's just assume the best. No. We are supposed to hold each other accountable. And part of Christian men, especially white suburban Christian men, listen up. Y'all very weak at this. You very weak at standing strong on the truth. Y'all scared to hold your wives accountable. You scared to tell women that they doing wrong because you scared Martha's gonna cry. Cindy's gonna have something to say. The church HR department is gonna write a mean note or send a mean email. I don't care. You are supposed to obey God rather than men. And that's a big thing, dude, in the West. These Christian men be such simps, they don't know how to hold anybody accountable. They can never hold a woman accountable. You can ask them, what has their wife done wrong in the last 10 years? Well, she married a guy like me. Yeah, my better half. Isn't that right, Joe? Crying behind the laughter. Dudes are so soft. They cannot hold a woman accountable. We need men who can hold women accountable without apology. And I mean that because some people, the moment a man says anything of a correction to a woman, he's the bad guy no matter what. And that needs to stop. Who can hold them accountable? Who can hold women accountable? Not you. So you know what? I don't even want to play the rest of his video. Did you have anything you saw in that, Mr. Producer?
Well, I was wondering, the guy was talking about, well, I have videos from my past drinking. Why are they still up there?
Yeah.
If that's your past, get rid of it. Well, people don't know me only because of that. Well, yeah, because the videos are still up there.
you can take the videos down.
Yeah,
Like,
it doesn't take. It's simple to do.
in fact, I would say that too many girls keep their past up. Like, say God saved you, right? And you were saved from being immodest to modest. And now you dress differently. I see so many Christian girls who like, I used to dress like this, and they got a whole Instagram with them in whatever it may be, booty shorts, bikinis. This is from when I used to model. Take that crap down. You're a Christian now. Now, if somebody happened to find it or something like that, that's different. But if you got it up just to remember the time when we fell in love. If you got it up just to remember the time, you not doing nobody no good. That ain't no testimony. You know, like, that is a good point, Mr. Producer. Why do you still have that up? You, as a Christian, you constantly got to weigh, is this something that is glorifying God or not? If it's not glorifying God, then perhaps you shouldn't do it. You should consider not doing it. There's some things that might be in a roundabout way of glorifying God. Like, I've seen some Christians who, this dude named Bonk Gang. And he has a bunch of tattoos on his face. And people have asked him why he hasn't covered his tattoos. And he said, because it's a testimony of where I came from. And I actually agree with that. For real. He had a bunch of gang tattoos and crazy affiliations all on his face. And he says, when people question me, when people ask what life I live, they don't question it because they see the tattoos. They see how I am. But now I'm a changed man and they don't even recognize me because of how I act. That's for real. I agree with that testimony, but keeping videos of you just getting plastered drunk online, I don't see what that does for you, sir. If you have control of that, maybe you don't. I suppose we should give him the benefit of the doubt.
I suppose.
Next video. There's a guy named RUSLAN, and I never have really... It's always been something that rubbed me wrong about him. Me and my wife we watch Christian content, and it's always something about him that I'm like, I was talking to my wife, and I was just like, yo, it just seems like he doesn't take a strong stance on anything. It seems like he would have the Satan sit down at his couch and still be like, well, you know, we can get along. That's what it seems like. It seems like every time he has the chance to stand on something or to make a stand, he chooses right up the middle. Right where it's nice and easy, the safest way possible. That's what it seems like RUSLAN does. So let's play part of this video.
So when it comes to false teachers, we are not to work with them, approve of them, celebrate them, affirm them, or welcome them, period. Yet RUSLAN KD shows that he does not obey the Bible and does whatever the heck he wants to do. So we can stop right there and say, you know what? That's an open and shut case of why you should mark and avoid RUSLAN KD. But it gets way worse. Watch this.
We touch that because I genuinely think, God uses flawed people. And I think perfection is the enemy of progress. And I think I know God is using Mike Todd.
What?
I know God is using.
You want to pause
Todd.
that? Let me speak real quick. Here's the thing. For those who don't know who Mike Todd is, he's one of the most popular false teachers around. The video is going to show some of the crazy things that he does. But to say that when you have a platform, and first of all, let's not even skip past the fact that he's sitting with a false teacher right now. That guy, I forgot his name. He's not that important to me. He's a pastor who was caught in an affair. And if you're a pastor caught in an affair, first thing you need to do is step your punk butt down. Step your punk butt down off that pulpit. It's not for you. Secondly, when you sit down with somebody who's still doing ministry after that, you need to call that out. Not saying God uses imperfect people. Shut up. That's a weak stance. Stand for something. God uses imperfect people, and that's why you having an affair is something we won't talk about. Okay. Okay. God put him there for you to challenge him if you were a real Christian. But what he does is he takes the avenue of being weak all the time and platforms people that needs to be called out. And what he does is so sneaky because he platforms good people, some who are actually really good ministers, really good preachers, really good teachers of the Bible. And then on the other end, he'll platform some goofy dude like Mike Todd or Lecrae, for goodness sakes. Lecrae is trash. Can't even rap good. Lecrae is not good. With the Black Lives Matter movement and all that trash, he's a perfect example of worshiping his own blackness above God. Putting his blackity blackness over the gospel. That's what Lecrae is. Weak gospel, weak Christian, watered down. That's the type of Christian RUSLAN he gets along with. So let's look at the rest of the video because he just said God uses Mike Todd. Well, who is Mike Todd is the question.
And I know God is using Transformation Church. And if I don't necessarily like it or agree or understand it all, that's not on me to be the judge, jury, and executioner on those
That
things.
shows depth, though.
Yeah.
So you just heard RUSLAN KD openly admit that God is using Mike Todd and Transformation Church. Are you kidding me? That's a huge said no verse ever. Mike Todd is one of the worst false teachers out there, and his fake church is leading a ton of people to hell with false doctrine, with gimmicks and worldly nonsense like this.
Trans is in the title. Transformation, you can be here. Oh, God. Over the Bible, too.
Yo,
stop acting like you care about this.
This is nasty. Look at this. Why would any Christian do this?
I'm okay for you to feel horny.
This is claiming to be a pastor. This guy claims to be a pastor.
Wanna cheat on your wife?
So if you're not convinced by what I just showed you, here's a couple other little issues that makes Mike Todd a false
You want to
teacher.
pause this real quick? This type of stuff really, really angers me. You guys seen my dad on the show. He's been a pastor for nearly more than 30 years now. I remember him starting to be a pastor when I was like 10 years old. I'm 41. And just to think that somebody else can have that same title and seeing what my dad went through. My dad went through straight up, man, like all types of spiritual torment, all types of people betraying him, people stealing from the church. And I'm not just talking about thousands, I'm talking about tens of thousands of dollars. People who he buried their family and they betrayed him. People who tried to do evil things to the church and put us financially bankrupt. But I say all this to say God has to still sustain the church. He still is behind us. He's still with us. He's still blessing us. We are not dead yet. But to see my dad come through all that and to see what it really means to be a pastor, and then this clown gets up here doing all these hysterics, doing all this goofy stuff, spitting in his hand and wiping it on somebody's face in front of the church just to get people to say, oh, what is he doing? That's crazy. Doing antics like that and using God's platform to do it. How much more despicable can you get? And we're not supposed to call this out? See, here's the thing that I don't like. Is like the only thing that Christians call out in the West harshly is judging other Christians. Is judging anybody else. Holding anybody accountable. You can't do that. If you do that, they're going to call you judgmental. But then when you see somebody who's clearly a false teacher, everybody's scared to say, well, we don't know that he a false teacher. You don't want to put that on. Yeah, he is. Because nobody who is a pastor would take the platform that is so respected in the Bible, that we have whole books of the Bible written on, whole chapters of the Bible written on to tell you how to conduct yourself in church and treat it with such disregard and disrespect. Nobody who loves Jesus Christ would do that. That'd be like you, and I'm trying to give you a picture. That'd be like you saying, man, I really, really love my mom and she died and here's the last letter she gave to me. Now watch me. I'm going to put up a video and take a dump on that letter. I'm going to pull my pants down and take a desecrate on just straight up all over the place, straight up diarrhea all over that letter. But I still love my mom and what she had to say. I still respect it. Yeah, she wanted me to do that. That's what it feels like to me when these people take God's platform and do this type of thing. We can go back to the rest of the video.
Mike says that Jesus never reached his full potential. Wow, I never saw that one in the Bible. Mike Todd also says that he does not know what to say about gay marriages or about being trans. The Bible says a lot about both of those issues. Also, his wife is a co-pastor, which is clearly forbidden in God's word. So is God really using this demonic church and this false teacher?
He hitting all the points that all false teachers, my fault, because it does that audio thing. He's hitting all the points that false teachers do. He's co-parenting with co-pastoring with his wife. You can't have a woman pastor. We talked about that several times. There is no such thing as a woman pastor. You have a false teacher in the midst if you have a woman pastor. He puts himself out there as an influencer. The last thing that he did that went super popular is that he did a thing for his 39th birthday. And it was like a music video to some secular rap song. And it was all about glorifying himself. He was showing his gold teeth. He was, you know what? I should see if you could find it, Mr. Producer. But you would have to look on YouTube. But I don't know if you can or not. If you can't, let me know. Yeah, probably not. Okay. For right now, we won't. But he had this music video. And all it was is just him glorifying himself. He's all about all the glory going to him. And how I know that is because of the scandal he went on before that is he wore a t-shirt. And on the t-shirt, he got printed out a picture of his wife in a bikini. And it was like this giant picture. And everybody was like, that's kind of inappropriate. And he was arguing for it. Not once did he say it was wrong. He said, I should be happy about this and y'all should be happy for me and all this goofy stuff. It's all a glorification of himself above God. He's a false teacher if I ever saw one. I would not be surprised if he was sleeping with multiple women in his church because that's what false teachers do. I would not be surprised if he doesn't even believe in the deity of Jesus Christ. I would not be surprised if he has several doctrinal issues that are like flamboyantly wrong. I wouldn't be surprised because look at what he does. This is what charlatans do. This is what he's like a circus preacher. That's what he is. So, my fault. Continue playing that video for me.
No. But RUSLAN goes on to say that he's not the judge and jury of any of this kind of stuff.
This is weak.
Oh, really? No. Let me be very clear that this is pure nonsense from people like RUSLAN KD who have no spine and do not care about obeying God's word.
Yep.
They just want to get along to go along so they can get tons of followers. They can sell their merchandise and they can build their empire. But before we go on any further, would you please consider subscribing to our channel, giving this...
And I do like his channel. I do like what he said. Everything he said, I agree with on this video. Everything. If you get a chance and you follow me, go follow him, like his video. But the thing about it is, it's such a sad thing to see that RUSLAN would give these people a platform and not challenge them. You can have people on your platform you disagree with. Totally fine. We had one with a sombrero on a couple weeks ago. But you ain't gonna see me not challenge people who come on my platform who say something wrong. It's my platform. God gave it to me. He didn't give it to me for sit down and lay down and shut up and let somebody run and give false teaching. RUSLAN is talking about God is using Pastor Mike Todd. In what way? Please be specific. What way is he using him? How can he use... No, I was going to say something goofy because I was going to say, how can he use somebody evil? But God can use anybody. But in the sense of, he wasn't saying it in that way. He was saying it like God is doing great things through this man of God. And if you're not saying that, clarify. Come out and tell us Pastor Todd is not a man of God. Come out and tell us he's a foolish false teacher. Come tell us. We are waiting for you, but these Christian influencers do the cowardly thing. There's another influencer I want to go over, and this is the last one. Another Christian influencer. I think it should be the next tab over. Oh, this one goes into our next point. This Christian humility. This is, before we even go into the video, y'all heard me talk about Nala Ray. Now, here's the thing that's peculiar about Nala Ray. And that why everybody gets her all these speaking events. And she's one of the main speakers at TPUSA and all this goofy stuff she's been involved in. They love the fact that she was one of the highest paid OnlyFans creators. She was one of the women who got the highest paid in the top 5% to top 1% paid of OnlyFans, meaning she made millions off of OnlyFans, showing her whatever she was doing, stuffing things in her body, whatever they do on OnlyFans. That's what she was doing, and she got paid. She went on whatever podcast. She said that she loves to have affairs. She was making orgasmic faces. She was making all type of sexual sounds. And then we presume by what she said that she come to know the Lord. Now, if that's true, that's great. If it is true, here's my problem. And it goes back to something I said before. You would think that if God created you to be a new creature, all old things are passed away. Behold, all things become new. You are a new creation. You would have somebody in your corner to say, your sin nature was causing you to go online and get the wrong type of attention. Perhaps, just perhaps, you should not be online anymore. Perhaps it's not wise for you to be doing dances, for you to try to garner attention, for you to try to be cute, for you to be doing all these things online. When online is how you fell down the pit before. That's how you fell into your sinful lifestyle before. It's like, oh man, it's just common sense to me, but for other Christians are like, oh no, she's good now, just stop judging her. And it's always women doing this because we have a feminist society in the West and we let feminism take over the church as well. It's always women saying that this stuff is okay. Sometimes you women need to shut up. Shut up and let real men talk. Real men need to tell Nala Ray to sit her punk butt down and be quiet and learn some more. Learn. It should be 5 years before we even see you on the internet. If I was a spiritual leader, that's what I would tell her. It should be 5 whole years before we even see your face again. If you got to get a regular job at Chipotle, it does not matter. That'd be better than doing what you're doing now, being that you know you cannot handle that type of attention. Everybody knows attention is a drug, especially to women. So why would you put her on a platform where she's just going to go out there and be right in her perfect sin environment again? But nope, that's too harsh. We got to let her bake cakes and do sexual dances. So let's look at this dance and you guys tell me. See, I'm from black culture, so I know what this dance is. But let's look at it.
Boom, yeah.
That's her and her husband, by the way.
No, it's boom, yeah, boom, yeah.
Pause that for me, Mr. Producer. What type of dance is that? Anybody know, class? She's twerking. That's a twerk dance. That's a stripper dance. Some people gonna act like, oh, I've seen so many idiots online posting. Oh, she's just doing a fun dance with her husband. It's just fun. It's just like doing a merry-go-round dance or the chicken dance. No, it's not. It's a sexual dance. It's called twerking. It's supposed to flap your butt cheeks back and forth. That's the purpose. Now, yes, they've watered it down, but she's on here doing that. And then here's the thing. Maybe she doesn't know that it's a sexual dance. Let's just try to give her the stupid benefit of the doubt. Maybe she doesn't know this is a sexual dance that she's doing. Maybe her husband doesn't know. Why isn't anybody telling her, her pastoral leaders, her church leaders, her elders, the wise women around her? Why are they not telling her, maybe you need to keep your little butt off the internet? Why is that so hard for somebody to say, hey, Nala, you know how you kind of fell into a sinful lifestyle before? And you were on the internet shaking your rear end for money, butt naked? You know how you were doing that? It probably would be wise now that you're saved to stay away from something that was such a temptation before. Why is that so hard to say? Oh my goodness, dude. Like, I'm on this carnivore thing now where all I'm eating is meat. It's like helping me with my like GERD and all this personal information I'm giving y'all. It's helping me with all this stuff, right? What would it feel like for me to go and do this podcast in a donut shop? Knowing I love donuts, because I love them. I love them with all my heart. I love me not the powdered crackhead donuts. I like the regular donuts. All the other donuts I like, especially the stuff with the swirls and the Cinnabon type donuts.
Donuts.
Imagine, imagine if I go do the Righteous Edge podcast and all I have is donuts around me. I'm doing them in the donut shop. And then I'm like, you know what? I can fight it though. This time I'm doing things right. Why would I put myself in a situation where so much temptation is around me when I know I'm trying to do the right thing? But yet, this is just astonishing for Christian women to even conceive that you shouldn't put yourself in a situation like this. We should just have more grace, like that weak simp Christian said in the video before. People don't have enough grace. You want to go to that picture and pull that up? It's the next one. That. People don't have enough grace. This was the video she put on years before. And remember when people was in an uproar about that, and I thought they were rightfully angry. So she hasn't learned a thing, because this one is a previous one where she was twerking with her husband, which we'll talk about him in a second. She was twerking with her husband. That's recent for this Christmas. Merry Christmas, by the way. This video where these screenshots are from was from years ago, where she just became a Christian. So she hasn't learned a darn thing. And let me describe for those who don't know. You see her licking something, and then you see her with the rolling pin, and you see her making this weird orgasmic face in the third picture. What's happening here is she put out a video after she became a Christian trying to promote her new type of content. And her new type of content, she was baking cakes and she would lick the spatula all seductively, and she would do the rolling pin in a weird motion, as you guys know what that sexualized motion with a rolling pin would be, because it was absolutely no reason for her to do that. And then she tasted it and she's like, oh. I should never make that noise again. She did that
Please
type
don't.
of like look where her eyes are rolling in back of her head. And it's like, what are you doing? You know you came from a lifestyle where you sexualize yourself for money. You know that thousands upon thousands, if not millions of men were led astray to do things while watching your videos, and you put a video like this out. The Bible says we should try to do what we can not to cause another brother to fall into temptation. And the first type of video you put out is a video like this. And then years later, she's doing a twerk video with her husband with these super tight, what is it, Grinch outfits on? It's
That's what
like,
they
now
were,
somebody
yeah.
would say that outfit
Yeah.
is not revealing. You can make that argument, fine. That's cool. The outfit is not the problem. It's what she's doing
Right.
and the fact that she just cannot stay offline. She has to be this social media influencer. Can you sit your butt down? Can you do that, please? I'm trying to protect your character now. I'm telling you as a Christian, if you sat your butt down, wouldn't nobody be able to say nothing. They'd be saying, man, we ain't heard of Nala Ray in a while. She said she became a Christian. We haven't heard of her in 4 years. I bet y'all hope she's doing good. That's all they can say. But you gotta put yourself in the middle. You gotta put something out there. You can't, your pastor's not telling you, your elders not telling you, the deacons are not telling you, the women of your life are not telling you, the older women of the church, the younger women of the church. Nobody has told you you need to sit your butt down and get off the internet. Nobody? What about the verses, the Holy Spirit that you claim to have? The Holy Spirit is not telling you that you need to be modest? That you don't need all these views, you don't need all these accolades, you don't need the people to like your video, you don't need the people to say, you're such a cute couple. You don't need the people to say, oh, even with her clothes on, she's still sexy. You don't need people to say, oh man, she's changed, she's such a good Christian woman right now. You don't need people to say, she's the greatest trad wife ever and she's actually really hot. You don't need anybody to say any of those things. Your admiration should come from God. I'm not saying you can't have fun, but you specifically should stay off the internet because that's where it was a pitfall for you before. It might not be a pitfall for other people, but it's a pitfall for you. And this is what gets me. How come nobody has sat this girl down and said this? Ugh. So it's like being a Christian influencer, for me to wrap this up, being a Christian influencer, this is why I hate most Christian influencers. They're weak. They don't do what they say they're going to do. They have no character. They have no integrity. They don't stand up for what's right. And then they do things like this Nala Ray does, like RUSLAN was, like Girls Gone Bible does, like Pastor Todd does. And they defame the name of Christ with their platform. They make it a laughing stock. Other people look at us and laugh. They say, this is who y'all got, Christians? This is who y'all putting on the front of the battlefield? And then people like me got to fight for 20 views. I'm not even mad at that because here's the thing. God is going to give me whatever he plans to give me. And the 20 people that do see the video, guess what? God has a plan for them too. And maybe he can bless them with the video. I'm not mad at that. We'll have a slow and steady growth. And when we get to where we're going, we're going to look back and say, look what God has brought us through. I have no problem with that. What I do have a problem with is them being a representation of Christianity. Of them being the one that y'all say, oh, this is y'all, this is what Christians do. You don't have to give me your platform. I'm not jealous of your platform. What I want you to do, though, is you should sacrifice your platform for the sake of the gospel, for the sake of God, for the sake of Jesus Christ and his change that he made in you. If you really believe in God, the money, the popularity, the view count, it should not be as important as it is and should be something you could easily sacrifice for God. Easily. And the question you have to ask is why each of them haven't. Let's go to the next topic. Oh, the unfaithfulness of Piers Morgan's wife. Now, I'll talk for a second, Mr. Producer. This is my problem with Piers Morgan. He just had an interview. And he did an interview with a person who's very, very controversial, Nick Fuentes. I've publicly said that I do not agree with a lot of things that Nick Fuentes says. One of the big things that I disagree with is the IQ and black people are just inherently dumber than white people, he believes. I believe that is not true. But on another thing, it's not that I just disagree with him. Is that I even think that he says a lot of things just to get a rise out of people. And I don't think that's the way that you should go about it. I think you should say what you believe and not just say things just to get fame. You don't just drop an N word with a hard ER just to piss people off. I think that's silly. But at the same time, I think he does have a right to say those things. And I think that he has a lot of things that he does well that people are ignoring because society has said being racist is an unforgivable sin. I think that he has a lot of things going for him. He's very charismatic. He's very funny, man. I've seen a bunch of videos, even when videos with him dropping the N-bomb. Some of these videos that he puts out are insanely funny. I can see why he has followers. I can see how he has so much charisma and why people laugh. And I can see his intelligence. I've seen him in some of the debates. He has a lot of intelligence. That doesn't mean that I agree with everything, but you got to admit the kid is intelligent. With all that being said, I think that Piers Morgan, during the interview with him, did some despicable things. If you're going to call him out for racism, that's one thing. But you don't got to put his father on blast and try to drop his whole name. That was silly. I thought that was dumb. You dealing with him, not his father. So it seems like you was trying to put it out there for his father to get harassed, and I don't like that. Second thing that you did is you claimed to be a Catholic. Piers Morgan claims to be a Catholic. But yet, he was making fun of Nick Fuentes for not getting laid. That was stupid. He went on there in his interview with Nick Fuentes and says, "So you haven't gotten laid. You haven't gotten laid. You're not having sex. Ha ha ha. You're not having sex. Y'all both supposed to be Catholic." What type of thing is that to say if y'all both Catholic? And then come to find out, after the interview, the Nick Fuentes followers dug through Piers Morgan's life and found out you talking and bragging about having had sex before Nick Fuentes, and yet your life and your wife is doing all types of dirty stuff on the side. She's acting like a complete slut on the side. Let's look at this video, Mr. Producer.
To this place. And so, embarrassing. Very embarrassing. But then, like I said, the Groyper curse struck. And the Groypers started looking up her Instagram. And, right, there was quite a lot on the Instagram that really was humiliating for Piers Morgan. Now, it's not bad enough that your wife publicly disrespects you in the newspapers, right? It's not bad enough that basically she says, yeah, I didn't find him attractive, and I'm kind of only with him because he love bombed me with gifts, and I realised he was super rich, and I could just be a total bitch to him all the time. But the sort of things that she posts on her Instagram are really deeply humiliating for Piers, and I don't know if he knows this. In fact, I think he does know this, right? I mean, she's got, here's him as a hairdryer blowing her hair. Where does anyone know where the off button is? Yeah. Okay, Piers Morgan's a blowhard, right? Okay, fair enough. That's banter, right? But then you get ones like this, where she's handsy and hanging all over this guy. It's like, okay, yeah, fair enough. That's not that much. Why we all need a best boyfriend? It's like, right, so it's some guy hugging her and Piers Morgan fuming in the corner. But then it gets just more explicit. Here she is in a very cozy embrace with Lenny Kravitz, reading Lenny's brilliant memoir and thinking back to a sunny Saturday.
So she's making jokes at her husband's expense. She's going out to eat with different men. She's hanging all over famous men and celebrities. So it's kind of to the point where his wife is doing whatever she want to do. And it gets worse. Let's look.
In Paris. He'd taken a 3-year vow of abstinence at the time. Shame. Right, okay. So tried to shag Lenny Kravitz. Didn't manage it. But may have been given a loan on loan by his wife. I may be some time. Right, okay, yeah, so it implies she shagged this guy. Oh, Oswald, behave. Right, okay. Oh, just very popular with men. And she's very handsy with men on her Instagram.
Yes,
right, okay,
very handsy.
I'm sure there's nothing to worry about here, Piers. If anyone's distracting enough to make you slice half your own head off, it's Mr. Lowe. Don't rush home, Piers. Oh, right, she's trying to shag Rupert Lowe? No, I can't remember this. An actor called Lowe. And then there's this one. When the husband's away, Mr. Suds comes to play, and it's some guy washing a car.
Here's the thing I don't understand, and we're going to have to talk about this. Why do modern women do this humiliation ritual thing? She says when her husband's away, this pool guy comes to play, and she takes a picture of some dude in a Speedo. Why would you? First of all, I don't think it's a joke. She can say it's a joke all you want. I think she's cheating on Piers Morgan. You wouldn't even post something like that if it didn't cross your mind. She's cheating on her husband, straight up. She's cheating on him, and she has no respect for him, and she's putting it on social media so everybody else can see it. The disrespect you have to have for a man to post something like that. When your husband's away, I'm going to play. And then a picture of a real life man, not some picture she found online. Picture of an actual dude. And so this is who wants to tell Nick Fuentes that being a virgin is embarrassing. Being a virgin is something you should be ashamed of. But yet his wife is a town bicycle. And here's my problem with a lot of Christians and weak people out there. They will have more problem with me saying she's acting like a slut than her actually being a slut. She's the one who put this online, not me. She's the one who's going out there making these comments behind her husband back, talking about men she's lusting after, not me. When I call a slut out for slut behavior, don't be mad at me, be mad at the slut for putting it out there. And if she's not a slut, then who is? This is not the only thing she put out. She talking about all the men. And then before that, she was talking about how she does not respect her husband and how she only got with him because of his fame and he was giving her several gifts. Go watch the full video by Sargon of Akkad. All these are things she put out, not things people have said or secondhand information. These are things she put out on her social media. Let's play some more.
And it pants. Right. Okay. I mean, I'm sure Piers is feeling pretty good about all of this. And then you've got this one where she's talking about the stigma of men with massive dicks. Obviously, Piers Morgan doesn't have that problem. At least she doesn't mention him having that problem. Anywing,
you want to pause that?
My husband, Piers Morgan, doesn't like me to have milk. Be beautiful. Inspiring equal doses of admiration, lust, and...
Talking about sleeping with men who have massive body parts.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's what that was.
Okay, so she's talking about a man's private parts right there?
Yeah.
What type of woman does that? We see this with Akash Singh as well. Remember we talked about that? Here's the thing. Women do this when they have no respect for their husband. Let me break down why he's weak for allowing this. He should have left her the moment she said some goofy stuff like that. Because I would have already, as a husband, assumed that your wife is cheating if she was to say some goofy stuff like this. You don't even play like that with something as sacred as marriage. Secondly, the reason why she's doing this is because of feminism. And I'll explain. Feminism is an ideology that men are your oppressors, and the only way to get power is to take power from the man by putting them down, by embarrassing them, by doing all types of social things to take the power. And that's what they're doing in their relationships. This is what they're doing with their rich simp husbands. They go out of their way to see how they can take the power away from them. And then they humiliate them. And they think this is them being a strong woman because these feminist idiot women, they don't know how to be strong of their own. They only can display acts of strength by putting a man down. This is why Will Smith's wife did this. This is why Akash Singh's wife does this. This is why Piers Morgan's wife does this. They all do the same playbook. Some people call it a humiliation ritual. What it really is feminism being acted out when the woman feels like she's not the strong person in the relationship. She's going to show y'all she is. Look at me. I can do what I want. He has no power over me. He still pays all my bills when I sleep and I sleep around on the side. I have no respect for this man, and he's still going to do whatever I say. This is how they display their true feminism. This is why Piers Morgan is such a big advocate for feminism. His wife got him whipped. I could never respect a dude like Piers Morgan. Never. And here's the thing. I don't expect to ever be on a show like his. Maybe one day, and I'll call him out for it to his face. I can never respect a man who don't put his wife in place. I can never respect a man who would let his wife sleep around on the side while he's paying all the bills. Not knowingly. Maybe you didn't know. But you did know. Piers Morgan has no excuse. She's putting this out in public. Let's play some more of that. Because Sargon of Akkad did a great job here.
Fear. Celia adds, I actually had a friend who had a crush on Piers, and I told her that she was mad. Like, that's not very encouraging from your own wife, Piers. We arranged to meet for the interview, and Piers managed to string it out over the course of 4 different meetings. He kept saying, yeah, there are a few things I didn't quite get, and each of these meetings ended up with us having more and more alcohol until eventually he declared his real motivations and says, the thing is, you tick every single one of my boxes. And I said, well, that's weird because you don't tick any of mine. And now look at me, cue a resigned sigh.
What even is this? When they do this thing, they go out of their way to put their husbands down. And women don't understand, especially feminist women. They don't understand. When you put your husband down, you picked him, so it makes you look bad. But they so wrapped up in this feminist ideology, they think putting their husband down lifts them up. They don't understand that the whole world looks at them and say, you don't even respect your man? Ugh. You picked the man you don't respect? You picked a man you couldn't get a man you actually respected? And so part of the stupid catch-22 is they're trying to oppress their friends by saying, look at the pool boy I got. I can get a young man that I respect. But in actuality, it's going against them because when they go and they cheat on their husband and humiliate him over and over, the whole world looks and says, you're disobeying, you're disrespecting, you're disregarding your husband's leadership. Why didn't you just get with a man you could respect? And the reality is, they know a lot of them get in relationships with these simp weak men because a real man wouldn't play that. A real man would not play that. I would never let no girl play in my face like that. Talking about, while you're out, I'm with the pool boy. Okay, well, maybe you and him could live and clean pools together because you're going to be out of my house by the time I get back home. Maybe he got a job opening where you can clean pools right along with him. I don't play that. Like, it just the idea that Piers Morgan has probably made hundreds of millions of dollars. I heard he has like 3 different mansions or something like that. Very famous guy, been doing what he's doing forever. And still don't know how to get his wife to respect him. But he'll make fun of somebody for getting laid. I'd rather be a virgin for the rest of my life than deal with that. Honestly, I'd rather not deal with any woman than deal with a woman who's going to play around like that and play with my name like that. The disrespect that comes with that and how I've never looked at a man. This is how most men think too. I've never looked at a man that's better than me if his wife don't respect him. You could have 10 million gazillion dollars in the bank. You could have the most fancy cars, but if I see your wife just straight up disrespect you, I can't respect. I look at you as beneath me. I'm dead serious. Now, you might say that's wrong, and as a Christian, you shouldn't look at yourself as above it. I'm just telling you what I feel. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying most men feel this way. When we look at a man who doesn't have the respect of his own household, whether it be his children, and especially his wife, We look at them as beneath us and they don't deserve. If you can't get respect from the person who knows you best, what does she know that we don't? Why does she not respect you? Are you not the same person in your household as you are online? And here's the thing about Piers Morgan that upsets me about this situation. He's quick to call out somebody online and interrupt them when he get the time to talk over them. But I bet you don't talk over your wife like that. I bet you while you over here talking down to somebody like Andrew Tate or making your liberal points about why the UK doesn't need guns and this and that. You want to argue about things like that, but you can't argue with your wife like that. I bet you don't talk over her because she'll go out with the pool boy again. And this was despicable about you men. Stand up for something. You got kids by this woman, and she's treating you like that, embarrassing your family. Here's the thing. I'm going to say this, even my wife ain't going to like this, but I don't care. Stop following women and stop caring what they think. Straight up, as a man, you cannot sit up here and lead your household worrying about what your wife think all the time. And I say that with all due respect because I have a good wife and somebody who's respectable. But I'll tell you this, when it comes to leadership, sometimes I'm not worried about what my wife thinks because as a leader of my home, I cannot be beholden to somebody that is that listens to their feelings. Women listen to their feelings and will do what makes them happy when it comes to their feelings. One day they'll be up, another day they'll be down. All of them. Not just my wife, not just your wife, not just Piers Morgan's wife. All of them. And here's the thing. If you're a man and you're just going out of your way to please your wife, guess what? The next day is going to be a different standard you got to please. And the next day is going to be a different standard. And the next day is going to be a different standard because our feelings will go up and down. And if you're chasing around this roller coaster of feelings, you will never please your woman. Your job is not to please your wife. Your job is to please God. You chase after God and your wife comes with you. You don't do like Piers Morgan do and buy her 3 different mansions and let her sleep with the pool boy on the weekends while you're off making money. Y'all both supposed to chase after God, but she's supposed to follow your leadership. You don't follow her feelings and you don't listen to what a woman, she talking about, she just said, Piers Morgan, her current husband doesn't tick any other boxes for her. That's insane to say that. That shows you she ain't following his leadership. She's just sitting there saying, what can you do for me? What can this man do for me? He needs to impress me. Too many women think like that because we as men allow it. If you are not pursuing your purpose in God and chasing after God, don't expect that a woman is going to come on your team. You have to be pursuing God and a woman comes on beside you and y'all both pursue God and she follows your leadership and direction. Not the other way around. If you're looking for her for guidance, I know it's people that I know right now who look to their wife for guidance. She's the spiritual leader in our home. She has a connection with God. When she prays, we listen and we say, you're weak. You're weak for that. Be the spiritual leader in your home. She will respect you more because of it. She ain't going to hate you. She ain't going to be like, well, it's my turn to lead. After a while, she will become accustomed that you are the leader and she's going to say, you know what, let me run this past my husband. And if she doesn't, she's in sin. She's in sin for trying to do things on her own and trying to lead the home on her own. That's a sin issue. And I think too many men are scared to say that. It's a sin issue for you not to allow your husband to lead. Let me see what else I got on this topic because we can play a little bit more of the video, I guess.
I reckon that she was like this unattractive beta. He's insufferable. I'm not attracted to him at all. In fact, I think he's a clown. However, he is fabulously wealthy, isn't he? He does have 3 mansions. So, you know, maybe I can just accept his gifts. And she says, I wasn't caving at all. So Piers started aggressively pursuing me in the most bizarre way possible. Like, okay. Like, what an absolutely desperate simp Piers Morgan is.
Yes.
And of course, I wear the trousers, she says. She is, of course, the man of the house. She is the one who calls the shots because she is the one who is reluctantly consenting to the marriage, and he is the one who is desperate for her to like him.
Pause this.
And really, I think it's his money that
last
is
thing
leaving.
we're gonna go over. And some people confuse the desperation for love. No. Joshua said it like this: as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Job said it like this: you speak as one of the foolish women speak, because you said, sit up here and deny God on my dying breath. Get away from me, woman. He was able to say, we can't say that today. Y'all cannot say that today. You cannot say what Joshua said. You cannot say what Job said, because most of y'all dudes out there, most of these Christian dudes is weak, soft Christian men. They can't stand up to their wives. Ha! They rather get shot than stand up to their wife. I see it. I see it all the time, dude. And these dudes will sit up here and tell you it's the Christian thing to do to bow down and be a beta male. This is why you cannot sit up here and worship your wife. I should have titled this segment. I might still, when I chop it up, I might. The way Christian men claim to be Christian, because I don't know if Piers Morgan is a Christian. Just because he claimed to be Catholic. Christian men worship their wives. They go out of their way to obey their wives' every command. They put her up and they praise her every chance they get. They have nothing ill to say about her. Every command that she gives, they will ask how high when she says to jump. Everything they do in life is for their wife. This is an ungodly way of living. It's a worship of your wife. Ask a Christian man, when is the last time your wife apologized to you? When is the last time that you stood and said, we as a family, even though you disagree, we're going to go this way, and you went that way? When is the last time where you said, no, I'm not going to explain myself. This is what we're going to do. We've discussed it enough. If you don't have an answer to any of those things, then chances are you're in a relationship where your wife is leading you. When is the last time your wife has a disagreement with what you did, but you said, I'm going to follow God instead of you? I love you, but we're not going that direction. If you ain't never said that in your marriage, chances are you're not leading your marriage. So, the last thing. Actually, you know what? We got another video on this. Yes, this one. But like, you might have to rewind it. Is it rewinded? There you go. Oh, you
going to concerts of male artists, recording those male artists.
They're playing to be what it is. In a real way, we're gonna clip it up. We're gonna put it together, man. In a real way.
I've been seeing this trend go around on social media of literal married women and mothers going to concerts of male artists, recording those male artists, and then captioning the reel, I'm married and still shaved my legs for this just in case. I'm a mother and still wore a matching lingerie set just in case. And then if you hit the comments, all the women are agreeing with them. And I just have to say, to all those women posting that and the women commenting, your husband should leave you. That is the most disrespectful form of public humiliation to your husband. I've been seeing this trend go around on social media of literal married women and mothers going to concerts of male artists, recording those male artists, and then captioning the reel, I'm married.
Do you hear what's going on here, Mr. Producer? So what's going on is there is concerts where women are posting themselves on TikTok, on social media, and they saying with the caption saying, I shaved my legs just in case. And their husbands are not there.
I've seen that.
I haven't seen that. Well, what they're basically saying, for those who are too dumb to grasp what they're getting at, is I may have a chance to sleep with this professional celebrity or this artist. And I'm willing to screw up my marriage for that. And they're posting that in public. And men are obviously accepting it because women are doing this. Women follow things like a flock. So if they see one girl do it and get a bunch of views, the next girl would do it. So women are posting stuff like this, and getting a lot of views and all the comments. See, this is what men see that women don't want to talk about. So all the comments are showing that women are liking these videos and are saying, yes, me too, slay queen, I hope you get yourself a king. They're saying comments like that on these videos, saying that they're in agreement of it. Men see that stuff. People see that stuff. People recognize what's going on with women nowadays. They're recognizing that we live in a slut culture. That we have no chastity, we have no virtue, we have no ethics. And they're looking at that and they're saying, and then women would love to act like the reason the marriage rates are going down are because of men and women not wanting to marry. Well, women want to get married. Let's shut up with that goofy stuff. Women still want to get married. It's the men who are saying, this is not worth it. Why would I want to get married and then my wife go off to a concert and talk about she plans to sleep with a celebrity? And what's with the humiliation ritual stuff is what I said before. It's all about feminism. It's all about putting a man down to lift yourself up. And the fact that men are accepting this shows how many simps and weak men are actually in society. If your wife was to post something like this and you don't take her off the internet that next second, you don't have enough power in your relationship. I'm talking about take away the phone. You no longer have a phone. We're going to have to go to church and confess this before the church people and before the Lord and before the congregation. And we're going to have to get some Christian godly counseling from our pastor and our elder to see how we can rectify this. And if you don't, I'm going to take that as you cheated on me. And guess what? We're done. In fact, while we do all those things, you can be out of the house. You can go get yourself a hotel. And if you really want to rectify in this situation, you'll come to church and rectify it. Even from the hotel, you will. That's what I would do. Here's the thing, though. Christian men have gotten so weak and so soft that they'll see this and be like, oh, that's just girls being girls. Let the girls laugh. Meanwhile, they're getting cheated on and disgraced and disrespected in their own house that they're paying for. Disgusting. Who allows that? What type of man are you if you're going to allow that? You're going to allow your children to see you disrespected? You're going to allow the kids, the babies that look up to you as a hero to see their father disrespected like that? Have some respect for yourself. So that goes to show you, like, it goes along. I bet you Piers Morgan's wife made posts like that all the time. Last thing that I want to go over. And this is the last video. It is, let's see. Yep, it's that one. I want you to just, play it. We'll play part of, not all of it, but most of it.
Who leads it? Women. That's actually a curse. That's not a blessing. That's a curse. In the Bible.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. This man is cooking.
There we go.
Watch this.
Sorry to be so brash, but I have to call a thing a thing. When you look at black culture, who leads it? Women. That's actually a curse. That's not a blessing. That's a curse. In the Bible, in Isaiah, it talks about how you will be persecuted by children. What's going on in the inner cities? Who are the gangs made up mostly of? Children. And women will lead you. It's not a blessing. That's a curse. Meanwhile, Roland Martin's walking around with a shirt that says vote like a black woman. That's crazy to me. Wearing a shirt that says vote like a black woman. Look, you dummy. The reason why black women vote predominantly for a party and for a philosophy that promises handouts, that promises to take care of you, that promises to be your big brother, is because they can't depend on the men in their home. And so it's because you fell asleep at the gate that your women feel they must now vote for a politician to take care of them.
You ain't done more for black people than LBJ did, than Bill Clinton did, than FDR did.
For you, a grown man, to wear a shirt that says vote like a black woman is like saying I don't want to be a man. I don't want to take responsibility and rise to the occasion. I want for the government to take care of me. That's what you're saying when you wear a shirt that says vote like a black woman who doesn't feel protected, who doesn't feel like her man can take care of her and of the family. That's what you are saying when you say vote like a black woman.
I'm a big fan of stealing homeless people's identities. Don't judge me. I trick them.
Never mind. I'll just do it, buddy. All right. Oh, the camera went goofy again. Here we go. There we go. There we go. So, I wanted to talk about liberalism and its effect and Martin Luther King. And if you look at where, well, first let me start by saying this. All throughout my life, I thought that Martin Luther King was a great leader. I thought of him in that way. And I thought he was a good, godly Christian leader. And I thought that he was in contrast to Malcolm X, who had a lot to do with the Nation of Islam. And I thought he was a good contrast because I thought this is a Christian pastor guy, you know, somebody who could lead the black people, and that he did a lot of great things for the civil rights movement. And I really believed that. And there was a lot of people that I respected that also believed that. But then I started looking more into Martin Luther King and what he stood for and what his views on the most important topic ever, which is Jesus Christ. And I have to say, I was very, very disappointed. Before we go into this, do we got any comments, Mr. Producer?
Not much. Nothing lately. Just on some past topics. Just
Okay.
it was about like nothing but the devil looking for souls to devour. We're talking about, you know, the twerking stuff and all that. You know,
okay.
yeah. And then it's about the Christian women who, you know, were saying one thing and doing another, that kind of stuff. And then they're all delighting in evil.
Okay. All that stuff is true. So I was looking into Martin Luther King because I was like, man, people are slandering his name lately. People have been going out of their way and saying stuff like Martin Luther King was not a Christian. Martin Luther King was a socialist. Martin Luther King believed a lot of evil things. And I was like, that can't be true. Not the Martin Luther King I know. The Martin Luther King I know would never say anything like that. The Martin Luther King I know preached Christianity and got his theology and his ethics from Christianity, right? Well, let's look and see. Because this kind of made me sad a little bit when you really figure out that one of your heroes is not who they said they were. Do you have that pulled up the
I do. I have the list here.
Okay, let's start. My fault. I should have had it pulled up on my phone when we had that video issue.
I got it right here in front of me.
Let's see. Yeah, you want to read that first part?
Yeah, sure. So it was. It says entitled "Was MLK a Christian Leader?" And we were looking for the video, which we're not able to find. But it says here that Martin Luther King Jr.'s published academic work shows that he denied or radically reinterpreted several central historic Christian doctrines. First one is the deity of Christ. He treated Jesus primarily as a uniquely God-conscious ethical leader and moral example, not as the eternal God, the Son, in the full Orthodox sense.
That's a very damning statement to MLK.
Mm-hmm.
To not let me just read some of that over.
Sure.
He treated Jesus primarily as a uniquely God-conscious, ethical leader and moral example. That is not what Jesus Christ is.
Right.
Jesus Christ is God in the flesh. If you don't believe that, then you are not a Christian. And the reason why is because only God can save you. Only Jesus Christ is God. Jesus Christ claimed himself to be God in several different passages. My favorite one being when the Pharisees approached him and they asked, who is it that you say that you are? And he turned to them and he said and they said, do you think you're greater than Abraham? And he said, before Abraham was, I am. And what did they do after that? Just to show you that he knew exactly what he was saying, and they knew exactly what he was saying. They picked up stones to stone him for blasphemy. If he was never claiming to be God, they could have never done that. They would have never thought he was committing the unlawful sin of blasphemy. But they did claim that, and that's why they picked up stones to stone him. He said, before Abraham was, I am. I am being a phrase from Exodus when Moses went before the burning bush and he asked, who is it who speaks to me? And God said, call me, I am the self-existent one, the one who exists with no other. And Jesus said he has that same name. That's one of my favorite verses, favorite passages. And so Martin Luther King didn't agree with that. And that's sad because just because somebody does great things or holds themselves in this prestigious way and has so much charisma doesn't mean they're a good person, and it doesn't mean they're a Christian. Let's continue reading.
So he said about the virgin birth, he argued that this was a pre-scientific way of expressing Jesus' uniqueness and that modern people should not take it as a literal biological miracle.
That's nonsense. Martin Luther King basically was telling people not to take the parts of the Bible literal that were clearly literal. People will always ask this stupid question, atheists, well, do you take the whole Bible literal? The parts that are, yes. There are parts that are poetic and they give you that context. If you read Songs of Solomon, if you read some parts of Proverbs, if you read some parts of Psalms, if you read some parts of Ecclesiastes, it's clearly poetic. And it will tell you it is by using context. Then there's parts that are clearly literal, like Jesus being born of a virgin. Jesus Christ dying on the cross, rising again. The apostles performing miracles that caused the lame to walk and the blind to see. Jesus doing the same. These were literal parts of the Bible. These are not allegory. These are not metaphors. These are not stories or earthly stories with heavenly meanings. These are clear, literal things that happened. And yes, I believe them. And I believe all of them. People ask, atheists love to act like they stumped somebody. Do you believe the parts in the Old Testament where Balaam, with the story of Balaam? Yep, I believe that too. And guess what? All of that is way less fantastic than believing we all came from a rock. Believing that explosion, somehow chaos, billions and billions of years ago caused all this order. That's straight up retarded. I would never believe anything that stupid, and anybody that stupid who believes something like that can never critique me. So, let's continue reading.
So he had a thought too about the bodily resurrection. He framed it as the early church's way of expressing that Christ's influence and presence continued rather than as a literal historical rising from the grave.
This is heresy right here.
Yep. And about the second coming, he explicitly rejected the idea of a physical future return of Christ, reinterpreting it in a symbolic or ethical terms. For example, Christ coming through justice and love in history.
This is a problem many black people have. And I'll explain this. The Hebrew Israelites had this problem. The Nation of Islam has this problem. They take the gospel of Jesus Christ. They take religion itself, even without Jesus involved, and they try to conform it to whatever problems we have going on this earth. Jesus Christ is not about your blackness. He is about saving mankind from his sin. Some people is not going to hear that no matter how clearly you say this. You're not saved because you were born a certain race, whether it be Jewish or black or Asian or Hispanic or white. You're not saved for that. You're an idiot if you think that. Jesus Christ came to save for all people groups. The Jew, the Greek, the Gentile. It's explicitly said. Have you not read Romans? It's very clear. Jesus Christ came to save the Jew and the Gentile. And for those who believe, just like Martin Luther King believed, that all of the Bible stories and all of the Bible who is conformed around this person of Jesus Christ is all about what we're dealing with right now, injustice right now, social ills right now. That's stupid. There's a life beyond the life we live. The 70, 80 years we spend on this earth is nothing compared to the eternity and the vastness of God. To think that God is only concerned with the justice that we got going on right now, in 100 years, nobody will care about Black Lives Matter. In 100 years, nobody gonna care about the injustice we going on. America might not even exist. God is way bigger than our country. He's bigger than the little crap going on in our block. He's bigger than social injustices. If you can't see that, then you don't truly know God. Martin Luther King used his preaching status. He used the fact that he was a charismatic Baptist preacher. He used that. And he used that to try to get things done that would help the black community. That's not what the gospel's for. I'm going to say that again because some people is not going to hear me. The gospel is not simply to help you with social problems. Liberal idiots try to maneuver it to be that all the time. It's not to help you with social problems. It's to help your soul. It's to save your soul. It's to save you from sin, death, and hell. And guess what? One of the side effects of being a new creature is that you will have a good society. One of the side effects of worshiping God is that you will get along better with your neighbor. One of the side effects of being a Christian is you won't steal, and your government, who, if they adopt Christian principles, won't steal from you. It's not the overall purpose. Even the disciples were confused when they were like, Jesus, now is it your time that you're going to make your kingdom on earth? Are you going to make all this political crap go away? No, that wasn't his goal. So people like Martin Luther King, people like Malcolm X, people like the Black Hebrew Israelites, they truly believe that this racial crap that we've dealt with on the earth, and black people have been through a lot, this racial crap that we've been through somehow supersedes Jesus Christ's original purpose, which was to save all mankind from their sin. And that's why they confuse everything. Their whole gospel message, even some of these churches that claim to be Christian, all they talk about is the black man and the plight he been through. And Jesus gonna come back and punish people and stop injustice. Jesus is not simply going to stop injustice. He's going to stop all evil in general. And guess what? Here's another thing that you guys, a lot of blackety black Christians don't want to admit. God's purpose can come with slavery. You don't want to hear that, but it's true. God can use slavery and evil to do his purpose. Let me explain. There are people in Africa right now who do not believe in God because they have a culture that resists God. They have a culture where they may live in somewhere way out there where they worship 100 different gods. It is because of God's mercy through slavery that we were brought to America and got to hear the true gospel of Jesus Christ. Some people say, oh, that's the white man's religion. You big idiot. Have you read in Acts where the Ethiopian came and heard the gospel before many other cultures? You big dummy, did you even read that? Oh, it's the white man's religion. Did you read what Solomon knew the people from Africa? before Spanish people, before all this other continents, African people. Ethiopia is one of the first established churches. And you talking about it's a white man's religion. You're just dumb. You're just stupid. You haven't studied history. Here's the thing. And I'm not trying to make it an argument of it's the black man's religion. It's religion for mankind to be saved. That's what it is. If you don't know that, you just don't know what the Bible's all about. If you can read the Bible right now, full from Genesis to Revelations, and not get that Jesus Christ came to save man from his sins, you're not reading the right Bible. If you read that whole Bible in its entirety, and you got to be black to be saved. If that's what you got from it, there's no hope for you. Because you just rejected the gospel of Jesus Christ and you've made it about your race. The same thing Martin Luther King did. He thought it was a good place or a good thing to use the Bible to help people with racial issues. It's not for that. It's to help you through that to still serve God. That's why in Corinthians it talks about, and Romans, whether you're slave or free, rich or poor, you can still serve God. People say the Bible condones slavery because it says, Paul said you could be a slave. He's saying no matter what you live in, no matter what racial issues going on, no matter what social issues going on, you can still serve God. That was the point. Your surroundings don't change, that God can change your inside. He can change your heart. Don't matter what race. But Martin Luther King was swept up in that. So, my fault. Let's continue reading. I went on a sidetrack.
That's okay. So, he also criticized views that Christ's death was a payment for sin in the classic evangelical sense, preferring to see the cross as a moral example and catalyst for social and ethical transformation. He also rejected the idea that humans are so fallen and helpless that they cannot contribute anything to their salvation, leaning instead toward an optimistic view of human moral potential alongside the reality of sin.
That's insane.
Should I go on?
You know what? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. He also did not treat the Bible as inerrant, fully trustworthy revelation.
Oh.
Instead, he saw it as a religious literature shaped by myth, legend, and a pre-scientific worldview that must be critically sifted and reinterpreted.
This is insane. Like, what makes it any different than any other book then?
Right. So he tended to see miracle stories, including aspects of the incarnation, resurrection, and judgment, as symbolic or mythic expressions of deeper truths rather than straightforward historical reports.
So he just didn't believe the Bible. Let's just make it clear, you know? He didn't believe that the Bible was the book it claimed to be. He did not believe that Jesus was who he said he is. And for that reason, I cannot respect him the way that I used to. I cannot look at a man who calls himself a preacher and does not respect the deity of God and does not respect God's word. He can have done great things. He can have moved black culture in the right direction when it comes to having freedom. Or even having the right to vote as a black man. Still should repeal the 19th. But having the right to vote as a black man, I think that's a great thing. Or even having and being respected on the same lines as your fellow man. There's a lot of things that he said in speeches I agree with. But I cannot say he was a great Christian leader. He wasn't. These type of things that he believes are heresies. And if he believed these and he died believing these things, I am sad to say he is not in heaven. He is not in heaven if he does not believe that Jesus is God that can save your sins. If he doesn't believe that sin, death, and hell are actual things and not metaphorical lessons. You can read the next one.
And he also downplayed or rejected a literal hell and a concrete future day of judgment in the traditional sense, again, preferring symbolic or ethical readings, judgment as consequences in history, etc., things of that nature. He often emphasized the kingdom of God as an ethical and social ideal realized in justice and love on earth.
It's
Ra-
all about whatever's going on
Right.
here and now.
Exactly. Rather than focusing on a future definitive consummation in the way conservative Baptists typically do. Because of these positions, conservative and confessional Baptists would say that King's formal theology conflicted with multiple doctrines they consider essential to being a Christian in the biblical and historic sense, even while recognizing his major contributions in the realm of civil rights and social justice.
Let me end with this. This is the problem that we in the black community have. We got to stop worshiping men, and we got to worship Jesus Christ alone. We, just like the Israelites did back when back when Saul was appointed as king, they were looking for a leader to lead them when they had God already. We in the black community, we always looking for these leaders. When Obama came, I remember people crying in the streets when he got elected, like little girls, grown men crying, because they thought he was going to be this messianic being that was going to lead the black community to reach their full potential, and all he figured out how to do was help the gays. That's all he did. And so you see, the black community, we really struggle because we do not know how not to put a man on a pedestal, or a woman for that matter. You got idiots like Kamala Harris, the cackling hen, who don't know how to even put two sentences together without making a gobbledygook paragraph. And we'll put her up there as our new black leader rather than worshiping God. And people need to stop doing that. There is no leader you need to look to other than Jesus Christ. So, I would say, I've looked at Martin Luther King as a leader for the longest time. But now, knowing what he believes, I'm not going to tell my kids, oh yeah, be like Martin Luther King. He don't believe in the true and the living God. So I can't say be like him. I can say there's some aspects of what he taught that I like. But for the most part, he's not a Christian. He does not believe in the true and the living God. So therefore, I don't respect everything he taught. And then when I look even deeper, that some of his socialist ideology and communist influence ideology, that's a big no-no for me as well. So it's a lot of things like that that I've been looking through history, not taking people's word for it, but actually studying it for myself. And some of the things you find out, it shatters how you feel about people, but that's a good thing because you should not put your stake in people to begin with. That don't mean you can't look up to nobody or nobody can be a hero or people can't have, a good reputation or anything like that. But it does mean that at some point you got to stop looking to people to be in God's place. You got anything you want to say on that, Mr. Producer?
No, I think you just about covered that, Jack.
Make sure we don't got no comments.
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen any comments lately, so let me just double check here. Nope, we have not had any comments lately.
We're still nobodies.
No, but we're still out there. We're still out there.
So thank you guys for joining us. I know we got a few watches. Thank you guys for just supporting us. I got a lot of friends that will call me and text me about the show and just really show their support. I really appreciate that. I do this for one reason, for a couple of reasons actually. But one of the reasons I do this is so that people who don't know, especially my kids, if something was to happen to me, or people out in the world who don't have a father, who don't have a masculine Christian perspective, I would love to know that they could watch my videos and get the harsh, bold truth. That they would not get a bunch of minced words and word salad, but people can know exactly how a Christian godly perspective should sound. So thank you guys for listening to me. And remember the word coon, cultivating our own narratives. It does not stand for any racial nonsense. I don't know what your dirty mind thinks it stood for, but that's what it stands for. I love cultivating our own narratives instead of letting somebody else manipulate us and make our narratives for us. All right, you guys, thanks for joining. We'll see you guys next time on The Righteous Edge. Peace out.